The last time the Integrity Octane Series had a 200-lap race, it happened to be 300 miles. We won't quite see that tonight. However, after a week off, it's time to get back into the swing of things. Welcome to the 14th race of the 2024 Integrity Octane Series. And tonight, we're back at the host of the 2023 All-Star Race. This is the North Wilkesboro Speedway, and it's time to get things moving in Wilkes County. Great to have you all back live on FTN. We had an exciting first race in North Carolina last night at Rockingham, and we're going to bring back North Wilkesboro. Last time that these next-gen cars of last season for the Octane Series to this track, Seth Noel got the victory. Now, the Octane Series no longer uses the next gen. It's the very first time Gen 4 stock cars take to this track here on FTN, and it's going to be an exciting 200-lap feature from flag to flag. Welcome you all back to the channel after an exciting race last night. For those who are tuning in for the first time tonight or saw us last night as well, it's great to have you aboard. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentating and producing all of tonight's action. And as it stands, it looks like 10 drivers have taken a qualifying time. Jacob Fife on the provisional pole from Michael Araya as Michael goes down and into pit road. 2 minutes and 43 seconds now left, and time is still ticking. Brian McFerrin going to get on the track. Brian is now going to be up inside of the top 10. Quickly going to make his move. That's fourth quickest so far. Not a bad lap for Brian. That was his first, and now he's going to be on to his second and final in this timing session. So 20.049 is good for fourth. Jacob Fife quickest with a 19.912, and Fife very quick at USA International Speedway in the Ignite Series. He came second in that event to Braxton DeWeese, and it looks like now for McFerrin, he's going to be fourth. No improvement on that most recent lap as Cody Smith jumps up to third. 2 minutes left right now, and it looks like 11 drivers have gotten onto the board, and there are a total of 17 currently registered, so we should see a few more laps. Hopefully anyway. Don Stevenson took an attempt but wasn't able to get a valid lap in. Meanwhile, Smith, now the only driver on the circuit, is up to third. And Cody getting some extra practice laps here relative to the rest of his competition. Now, North Wilkesboro Speedway, the pavement you're seeing on this track has not been repaved in the digital world. However, in reality, North Wilkesboro Speedway very recently got a repavement after 40 plus years on the same set of asphalt. It went back to 1981, and that's no longer the case anymore in the real world. But going back to sim racing, it is still that 1980s era pavement back to life. And here online, Tom Wetmore back on the track. We saw Wetmore last night in his first start for his Ignite Series campaign this year. Had a very solid performance just outside of the podium, and maybe looking for a few spots higher today. 2 consecutive podiums coming into tonight's Octane Series race, and both of those podiums have come behind Michael Araya. Third place at Charlotte, and the week prior he came home in second. Now the 51 looking for a win in his own right. It's going to be 10th place on that first lap, but he's still got room for maybe one more. Coming out of 3 and 4 this time by Tom. Going to get the drive off the corner, and loose he'll be. But Tom comes across the stripe, still to gain by about 1/10 of a second. That lap is good for 9th. So Wetmore going to set the final time in the session. Cody Smith still is going around, and he'll be starting in the second row. And he finds himself 3rd place. Spots above is your eventual pole sitter, and the number 36 of Jacob Fife scores the pole here in North Wilkesboro. Qualifying has concluded, and Fife, for the first time this season, finds himself on pole. Going to be a 5-minute warm-up session for the field as everyone gets back onto the racing circuit. We're going to look from top to bottom throughout your starting grid. North Wilkesboro Speedway saw multiple exciting races all throughout 2023 in this league, and Anthony DeBarro won the Ignite Series, and Seth Noel came home $50 richer after getting the win in the All-Star race. Tonight, A bit more of an opportunity for a new driver to come in and get the victory. Let's look from top to bottom. Jacob Fife, the top driver on the board here in qualifying in the Wilkesboro Clash. It's going to be Fife with a 19.912 ahead of Michael Araya. Araya, your points leader, starting second tonight, and Cody Smith with a very, very solid qualifying run. That's going to put Cody up to third, and right beside him, Brian McFerrin going to find himself with his all-time highest qualifying position in this series, fourth place. Not bad at all for Brian McFerrin, and Bobby Ross then rounds out the top five. It's going to be then Nick Tarbuck, position number 6, and then Ross Cato in 7th. Nicholas Ward going to be 8th, and Tom Wetmore does indeed make the main feature tonight. 9th place for Tom, and Eli Cars rounds out the top 10. And just after that, it's going to be 12 drivers who took a time. Alan Rawell in 11th, and Kyle Cooper in 12th. And Cooper there with a 20.948, the final driver to take a time. 13th place is going to be Don Stevenson, and Todd Thomas is in 14th. Randy Fiash 15th, and the final driver still registered for tonight's race is John Gearvon, 16th and last on the timing sheet. That being said, the field is due to be in formation in 3 minutes time. From top to bottom, that is your starting grid for the Wilkesboro Clash. Jacob Fife scores the pole position. Big wreck down to the front straightaway here, and hopefully we don't see all too much of that as the main race gets on its way. This is our smallest field of the season to this point in a total of 16 drivers, so not a lot of racing room here in North Wilkesboro, but hopefully just enough to accommodate for those who have made it to the track tonight. And let's talk about North Wilkesboro while we're at it here on FTN. And there's Charlotte Motor Speedway. Take a moment and we'll bring you a little more about Wilkes County. Charlotte is part of our North Carolina swing here in the Integrity Racing League. We went to Charlotte, then last night we went to Rockingham, and tonight, well, of course, it's going to be the North Wilkesboro Speedway, so a little bit different. And here you have it, North Wilkesboro Speedway, a track that's been used for stock car racing since the late 1940s. Now, closed initially in 1996, came back during the late 2010s under the Association of Goodyear's Motorsport Division. They ended up sponsoring the track for a year or two. Didn't pan out, and by 2012, the track was closed once again. iRacing played a huge role in getting this track back into mainstream relevance. The eNASCAR Pro Invitational All-Star Race was hosted at this track in 2020, and in 2022 the track was officially reopened for a brief period. It ended up being a dirt track reconfigured as the pavement process was put back into motion, and as such, we're here today. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series hosts one race at the circuit, and the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star Race also takes place here in North Wilkesboro. It's about 1 kilometer in length, about 0.62 in terms of miles. Not a big track at all, and every turn is unique. Not a very even groove for any turn. You gotta play it differently each and every time around. Track conditions play a huge role, and this track will be burning. Not gonna be an easy track. It might be small, but it is by no means simple. North Wilkesboro here in North Carolina. It's gonna be one of the most exciting short tracks we visit on the schedule. It's unlike any other. And right now, drivers, they're getting used to that fact. Eli Cars is going to be right now 12th on the board of 12 drivers who have taken a warm-up lap. Cody Smith currently finds himself quickest, just ahead of Jacob Fife, and Nick Ward then in third. A little bit of a smaller field size might give way to a few new drivers fighting for a race victory. I would expect some of the underdogs of this season to come back into play and try to get the checkered flag. Your eyes peeled for Cody Smith getting back into victory lane, something we haven't seen in a few months' time. Jacob Fife, he got 3 Octane Series wins last season, and we mentioned his hat trick multiple times over already in 2024. He is still looking for his first win in the Octane Series this year. He did get his first career Ignite Series win just about a month and a half ago. And Nick Tarbuck going to come across the line. Nick had a lot of championship momentum built up early after winning the first 2 races, and ever since then, he's not been slow by any means, simply has not been the driver to look out for in the title fight, as he's going to plow into Randy Fiash there. Tarbuck up the track, and Cody Smith, fastest driver in final practice. As such, the field will be put together now, double file on the start-finish line. Todd Thomas going to be one of the drivers making a part-time appearance today. A few notable drivers who are absent include Blake Cannon and Ethan Lane, who have been title fighters all throughout. Braxton Uwais and Matthew Thunhorst, all the same, not going to be with us for tonight's event. And dense field with a few of your championship contenders and frequent race winners out of the picture. Ethan Lane, of course, coming off of a dominant performance at Charlotte and now looking for an opportunity to get back up there. Jacob Fife and Michael Araya might be able to steal some points right back. Lane has been clawing his way into the title fight ever since he first made his initial start of the season, and he missed a few races to kick it off, missed 2 as a matter of fact, and since then, he's been quick, but a little more inconsistent than 2023, and over the long term, those inconsistencies are not going to help him, and Michael Araya is getting a free race tonight to build up some points no matter what happens. It'll be a 2-lap pace stint here before we get back to the green flag. And for those who did not watch last night, it was only 1 caution in the previous event that we saw live on FTN Rockingham for a total of 160 laps or 160 miles. It was a pretty quick one and done race, shall we say, in terms of pit stops, except for your race winner. Now, keep in mind, it was supposedly going to be a 1 pit stop race on strategy, but for drivers and those who ended up succeeding the most out of that race, they ended up going down to pit road twice, and that gave way to a little bit of a mix-up on strategy where most drivers went in once. However, the eventual race winner in Brad Patton and his posse, well, they went in twice, and that ended up helping them out immensely to get into victory lane. A caution falling in at the right time made all the difference. Here in North Wilkesboro, expect the cautions to be sparse once again. It all comes down to how consistent these drivers are from flag to flag, keeping their patience in check, hoping that tempers don't flare, and we are going to expect to see some short track madness. Let's just keep it under wraps for now. Jacob Fife going to lead the field to the green flag for the first time tonight. Welcome back to Wilkes County. We are green at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Right now, top 5 going to get away nicely and no trouble to get this one going as we expected. Everyone going to play it very calm up in front. Maybe a little bit of banging with the wall back half of the field, but nothing all too crazy as we get ourselves moving here in the opening green flag stand. Ooh, Eli Cars is going to come down to pit road, and he's in control. Makes it in without impacting anyone else, and Randy Fiash more the same, loose at the back of the field. However, we mentioned it, your front runners have gotten away, and they have no trouble in doing just that. It's going to be now Jacob Fife and Michael Araya, the 1-2 combo at the front, and they've gotten away now by just about a 1/10.5 over the rest of their competition. There's Eli Cars. Eli going to stay down on the bottom side, and as such, no trouble, and Jacob Fife moves quickly through. Here's going to be the very, very close battle between Tom Wetmore and Ross Cato. The Hornet's Nest with a lapper in between. Not going to make it any easier. Now, what we saw last year in both races that we had after this track, the big common enemy of the drivers, it was turn 4, specifically the exit of turn 4. If you got that exit wrong, you'd end up being in a loop in just a moment's notice. Now, some drivers can't catch themselves. Other drivers try to catch themselves and end up overcorrecting into the wall, and it's a tale of 2 very bad fates, and at that point, one is worse in most cases, but either way, you're losing track position, you're losing championship points. You really can't afford to have either occur, especially now that we've gotten down to the midpoint of our season. Next week going to be race number 15. We're here at our 14th race. We've gone a ways so far, and we got a ways to go. Right now, you do not want to be giving up any unnecessary points. Right now, indeed, we got ourselves a nice battle. It's going to be Nick Tarbuck there with Bobby Ross. Ross is running in 6th and looking for what could be his second top 5 of the season. Nick Tarbuck going to be right there ahead of him, and it looks like Nick making it up into the top 5 and trying to bring here Nicholas Ward with them. Ward going down under the 97. It has room, but doesn't have it yet to pass. Nancy Wetmore and John Steele in the chat room. Thank you guys for stopping by. We're looking at a very close battle here. Ross getting a little shaken up, and luckily he doesn't give in to the pressure just yet. But it is not going to be easy. Now Ross going to see Ward going up to the high side, and Nicholas has room to take Tom Wetmore right there with them. Tom decides to stay up on the middle side. He's going to let Bobby slip down low, and it looks like now Ward, very confident in his car, gets it by Bobby Ross. Ross slides back into 8th as Tom Wetmore gets by all the same. In the early going, maybe Bobby Ross looking a little bit more like a roadblock for these drivers than anything else. It looks like they're quickly able to pass that 45 and move him out the way like it is nothing. Another driver going for the attempt. That is Don Stevenson, and Don's going to take it right down low, slipping down to the bottom side of the 45 car here. And right now, that Adam Petty tribute machine having a lot of trouble holding up with these positions. Now, Ross Cato in the number 12. Looks to still be waiting on the outside of this fight, and Alan Rowell is as well. These drivers both decide to play the more patient route, let the chips fall where they may. Don Stevenson lies low. Still Bobby Ross up top. Bobby's not done fighting, but it looks like it just is not a winning battle just yet, and there you go. Bobby Ross getting moved just slightly out the way. And just like that, Ross is 9th. Don Stevenson is up into 8th, and Nicholas Ward looks to have disconnected from the session. Oh, there he is again. Now, keep in mind, Ward's internet troubles have been something that plagued him since the very beginning of this Octane Series. In 2023, multiple race disconnections, not as many this year. However, it has happened before, and it might happen again. Early going is going to see a fight between Ward and Wetmore, and it looks like now Tom looking to make up some spots. Remember, for Wetmore, this is his first week doing the Integrity double. Got a 4th place finish last night, looking to back it up right now, moving into 6th. And Nick Tarbuck ahead of him would be the next target. If he can get up there, it would be a battle for 5th. I'm sure Tarbuck, though, would like to just keep it where he is and keep riding. So far, doing a good job of just that, as Michael Araya and Jacob Fife have come across the line 1st and 2nd every time around. Fife leads from Michael Araya. The gap back to the number 44 is 0.2 of a second, and it looks like that time by Michael Araya puts a 1/2 of a tenth down. So maybe now Michael's going to be actually gaining rather than losing anything more. Michael Araya was slipping back early, but it looks like now Jacob Fife might be giving a little bit more up on the long run. Now, strategy is something we have not mentioned just yet. It might be a 2-stop race. It could go the way of a 2-stopper if drivers are able to run longer than about 68 laps per stint. 68 laps per stint would get you to about, of course, lap 68 on the first run. Then you'd go to about lap 135, 36, 37 on the second, and you should be home free from there. However, it comes down to fuel conservation, how aggressive you are in this first stint, how ready and willing you are to push when it matters most. And of course, if there's a caution or not, that also changes just about everything. Strategy can be flipped on a dime if something occurs in that front. But I don't think right now Fife or Araya are thinking about going all the way. They're thinking about what's in the moment. And right now, what's in the moment? The battle for the lead. A toe-to-toe battle between some of the best in this series. Jacob Fife, 3 race victories last season, and we've mentioned it time and time again, almost to discredit what he's done this season so far. But that's not to say Jacob Fife has been uncompetitive here. That number 36 is still one of the top drivers week in, week out. And as it stands, even though he hasn't been as flashy, shall we say, relative to his previous efforts, Fife still has a lot more in him than you might be led to believe. 5th in the championship standings, he has himself right now 3 top 5s and 8 top 10s coming into this race, and out of a total of 12 attempts so far. Not half bad for a driver who we have not mentioned as much as the previous season. He still definitely has it, but right now he does not want to lose one thing he has, and that is the lead. Todd Thomas down to pit road, our second driver to come down and in. Comes down on his own accord, so no additional troubles there. Michael Laraya goes up top. What's Michael got for Jacob Fife here? That remains to be seen, because he's also bringing Cody Smith right into the mix. And we've mentioned it previously. We mentioned it as recent as last night when you're at a narrow racetrack like North Wilkesboro. If you stay side by side for a little too long, you'll end up bringing your next competitor right there with you, and it might end up being a multi-car battle. Grows and grows and grows. Now, fourth place Brian McFerrin is very far back, and Jacob Fife is very loose, and that's all that Michael Laraya is going to need. Laraya takes the race lead on a very minor mistake from Jacob Fife, and he's going to let the wheel slip just once, and that could send him back to third here if Cody Smith has enough momentum on the high side to rattle it around the corner. Yeah, Michael Laraya waiting for the mistake, an unforced error, and that is going to give him the race lead. And that's just about the perfect circumstance for a driver in his position. Michael Laraya knowing that there's no real reason to push your luck tonight. When it comes down to his championship rivals not being here, that is a huge advantage. The benefit of a bonus race, so to speak, where you can get those extra points, is instrumental, especially now. Ethan Lane is second in the championship. He finds himself there by 123 points. Now, missing today would mean that he's going to most likely fall back to about third or fourth. It's a tight battle between Don Stevenson and Nick Tarbuck for third, but Lane going to end up losing a lot more ground to Michael Laraya than he already had behind. Now, Laraya, of course, had the advantage of making every start so far this season, whereas Ethan Lane has missed several starts. But as of late, Lane, he's got to make up much more of those points he's lost due to his driving more than anything. At Dover, he was leading, disconnected. The week prior, he had a wreck and ended up finding himself down and out. And even though Charlotte was, of course, exactly what he needed, another race win, he's in a hole, and Michael Laraya has been just about as good as ever. He was able to reclaim that race lead after Lane's disconnection at the Monster Mile and end up converting it into his own checkered flag finish. So Michael Laraya knows a thing or two about what it takes to succeed under the pressure here, and he knows that with no Ethan Lane, this is a huge opportunity to gain. Nick Tarbuck, who is third in the championship, is down in fifth place, and Don Stevenson, who is fourth in the points, is down in eighth. So both drivers are really not going to be threats right now. It all comes down to what Laraya can do. Now Jacob Fife holds his own in second, and Cody Smith drops back further for third. Side by side, it's going to be for fifth here. Tom Wetmore looking right under Nick Tarbuck. Almost has it. Tarbuck decides to stay right high. Tom Wetmore's got no quit right now. He's going to make up another spot from ninth on the grid. Wetmore's made up 4 positions, and even though that might not sound all too drastic, it's a smaller field. Every spot means that much more in the heat of the battle. Eli Carr's up high, almost going to cut up into Tom Wetmore, but Tarbuck ends up getting loose, and that's all she wrote. Nick Tarbuck fade a little bit further back. Wetmore's made up 4, and when we talk about big movers, let's see who the biggest mover of them all is. It has to be right now Don Stevenson, 13th to 7th, and still gaining. Maybe he's going to have enough momentum to get back up to Nick Tarbuck there in 6th, starting outside of the top 10. Of all those drivers who are in the top 10 right now, well, 11th place driver who started was Alan Rawell. He's up to 10th. 13th place Don Stevenson is in 7th. Otherwise, if you started inside the top 10, you're still in the top 10. Now, both drivers who are out of the top 10 from qualifying there have disconnected, and Nicholas Ward and Eli Cars is back down on pit road once more. He's 2 laps down as is, and like Todd Thomas, also a retiree in this race. That leaves us right now with 13 drivers on the lead lap, and Cody Smith, one of which coming back up on Jacob Fife, trying to close the distance after putting the battle in for second. Cody Smith running calmly in third here, coming up on another lapper, and Randy Fiash. Fiash just went 1 lap down. Next driver to go 1 down will be John Girvan, who's coming out of 4 this time by, and the leaders They're coming out of 4-2. It's about a 5-second distance between he and Michael Araya, so he's got time. However, it's also going to bring in Kyle Cooper and Alan, well, maybe up next. There's a few more drivers who are in jeopardy of going one down as the race progresses. Randy Fiash, very slow, coming out of 2, ends up awkwardly going up to the high side, and he ends up getting pushed there further and further by the leaders. Jacob Fife goes by, then goes Cody Smith, and that's going to bring Brian McFerrin in the mix here. McFerrin, that time by, ran a lap quicker by 0.3 over Cody Smith, and Smith ending up getting pulled very far back as Randy Fiash goes up high again. Randy to the top side, going to get out of the way of these leaders and minding his own business as he's going to let the leaders do exactly what they need to do. 39 laps in out of 200, so we're about halfway in the ideal strategy run. If there's a two-stop strategy in play, you want to go down a pit road at about lap 65 to lap 68. That's going to be the window that gets you all the way on 2 pit stops, the first of which will be coming up at about lap 65 and 68. Next stint will be coming in at about lap 132 to 137. And that's doing the rough estimates here just based on what we expect to see. It could be a completely different strategy. We could even see a 3-stop strategy, which comes down to splitting the race in 50s. It's safer, however, it is unlikely that it's going to be the winning strategy given how many stops that is and how short a race we're looking at. 200 laps, 200 kilometers, and in all honesty, it's only about 60% of 200 when it comes to miles, which would be just about 130 if we're being generous here. It's not a long race in terms of the mileage or even in kilometers here. North Wilkesboro is that short. It's approximately a kilometer in length, and the distance, it's telling right now how quick the drivers are getting by, even with tire wear, 21-second laps. And the quickest lap on that past time by was Michael Araya. Your leader is evidently fastest. Let's take a lap on board right now with Araya and see exactly what he's seeing. And right now, if you're Michael Araya, you might not be seeing too much. We're riding on board here. He's got a lapper ahead of him, but otherwise, very little competition to keep your eyes on. If you're Araya here, up in front by about 1.5 seconds, so he has room to maybe lay back a little bit more or push even further. He's in a very comfortable position where Jacob Fife is still in second here, and he's got to make some moves up the pack. Michael Araya, he is free and away, and his competition is much further behind. Cody Smith ending up getting shuffled back in a 5th. Brian McFerrin is running in 3rd now, and McFerrin, not often a driver we see here in the podium on raw pace, but tonight, looking to play out his way. Now, Brian McFerrin, a driver who's been involved with sim racing for the better half of 20 years, an iRacing beta tester when iRacing was labeled under the title First Racing, and the website for iRacing was firstracing.net. Now, iRacing, for many of the fans who have been on this platform for quite some time know, is based off the Papyrus Racing platform, which includes illustrious titles such as Grand Prix Legends, the Indianapolis 500 simulation in 1989, and most recently, NASCAR Season 2003, NR 2003 for short. Now, there was a little bit of a transition period. Papyrus was shut down in 2004, and its assets were liquidated and sent to a brand new company known as First Racing. Under the helm, Dave Kamer was in control. He led the Papyrus team. He led iRacing as well. And the first series of iRacing beta installments were based on NR 2003 as additional mod packages, different graphics, different cars, and the handling was adjusted, but overall it was based on the foundation of the previous title. They spent about 4.5 years in development before releasing their product to the public, and in 2008, iRacing, in its first public iteration, came to be. Now, if you scour around online, you can try out the first ever beta version of iRacing that was under the iRacing name. From about 2008, it has a lot of the additional original content, and some additional that you might have not seen for a while, such as Infinity Raceway and the Formula Mazda, and some of the legacy content that was retired as well. It's a much different platform. It performs much differently when it comes to the hardware, of course, but also the cars are different. Stock cars were not originally in iRacing, and they came around with the late model first, but NASCAR sanctioned content first came in 2009 with the Truck Series and the Chevrolet Silverado. The stock cars came around in the 2010s, and the Gen 4 stock car you're looking at right now, Brad Keselowski drove the real chassis in 2009 for Junior Motorsports, and it hasn't been updated ever since, although there are still rumors bubbling that that will change, and they might retire the Gen 4 chassis as you see it here. Cody Smith down at pit road, and he looks to be going for the three-stop strategy here. The Next Level Racing 18 is down and in. Yeah, Brian McFerrin, a driver who we were given a chance to examine a little bit more. Boomer Logan, a member of the Integrity community, ran a full-scale interview with him and many other drivers, and I find his story particularly interesting. McFerrin has been around this platform for quite a while, and he knows what it's been like since its formation. iRacing is much different today. We're coming up on iRacing's 16th anniversary as a simulation. Now, you might remember the 15th anniversary party we all had at iRacing last year. It's an exciting time to get on the platform, and we say that every year, but even more so, I mean, now we have rain for the very first time. It just got introduced this year. We're looking at refreshes for the graphics system, the user interface, and more content is coming time and time again. A refresh to the street stocks, which have been part of the base platform for just about 10 or 15 years. Well, that just came out, and more tracks, cars, and content are coming through than ever before, and the NASCAR side is not lacking. Now, you might remember that when North Wilkesboro came to iRacing, it came as part of a package. It wasn't sold as a package, but it came with the 87 stock cars, the Ford Thunderbird, and the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Additionally, the Pontiac and Buick of that time had been added, but it first came as Chevy and Ford. Now, 4 years ago, Wilkesboro, much different state that track is in compared to 2020. It's come back to life. It has a real stock car racing. iRacing, though, very important in bringing that circuit back to life. John Stevenson right now going to find himself in 6th, and Nick Tarbuck in 5th. Back to the racing. Take a look right now off the back bumper of Nick Tarbuck, and you'll see the battle from his perspective. And Tarbuck right now holds fort. He's been in 5th ever since he made that pass on Stevenson previously. And it looks like no signs of stopping. Tom Wetmore's gotten away. Nick Tarbuck has too, but it looks like Cody Smith now sliding down and under for a bit of a 2-for-1. Although Smith is 1 lap down, and he does have newer tires. Made it look pretty easy. And although he's got himself 1 lap down, should be able to get back on the lead lap within the next 10 or 15 at the very most. Stevenson now going to be right on the back bumper of Nick Tarbuck, and he dives all the way under. And as you can see there, he's going to make an impact. Stevenson goes deep, comes out on top. Not half bad for Don Stevenson, making another quick move, and now he's going to be up inside the top 5. Tarbuck held off for a while there, but unfortunately for his sake, not going to work out in the long term. Going to be 6th place for now, and even though it doesn't look like he's necessarily slower, he just got outdone on that move, and he's going to have to wait and maybe reset himself for the next pit cycle. 62 laps in out of 200. Looks more and more like the winning strategy is indeed 2 pit stops, and we'll be coming up on our first momentarily here. Lap number 63, expecting pit stops en masse within the next 10 laps. Driver's going to try stretching it longer and longer until it all comes down to a close. Keep an eye on the fuel here. It's more important than ever. Tire wear has just about come to its end. The best lap that Michael Araya ran was a 20.058. That time by Michael Araya going to run a 21.128, so he's about a second slower, but overall, not far off. He's running about the same times he's run for the past 25 laps, and nobody's run a lap slower than a 21.6 in the entire field that time by. Tire wear is minimal, and the conditions, well, we talk about weather being oh so important. The weather, in all honesty, has played in the favor of these drivers in no way at all. It's 132 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. The ambient temperature is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temp is 132. It is burning out there, and these drivers are dealing with it like it's nothing. Michael Araya there going to be outpaced severely by Cody Smith, but that's simply because Cody Smith has that newer rubber, and you really can't do anything about it if you are Laraya. Now Cody's going to be back up into 9th, and on the lead lap, he's going to be the first of which to try that alternate strategy, and even though nobody else has decided to come down and in, it's viable if you want to make the gamble. I remain doubtful, though, that we're going to see many drivers try it. Looks like Randy Fiash going to get slowed that time by as we're coming up on another lapped car bundle. Looks like Randy Fiash is going to be one of those to keep an eye out for. Bobby Ross, though, going to be up next, and this could put Ross from 9th place one lap down. That time by, Ross Cato going to come down in after 68 laps, and we mentioned that's the magic number for tonight. And Ross Cato decided to follow our advice down to the number. And here comes Cato in the Fast Forward Esports number 12. Ross making the move through, and now 69 laps in. Nice entry to pit road as Michael Araya leads and makes a pass again on the lapper of Bobby Ross. Tonight seems to be a bit of the opposite to what we saw in Charlotte. If you're with us right now, well, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot to talk about tonight. The racing has been very, very calm. Now, we mentioned it's the opposite of what we saw at Charlotte, and it is in a few ways. It's a very short track. Charlotte is an intermediate as much larger scale racing. In terms of miles, this is one of the shortest races on the schedule. Now, we mentioned that this comes out to about 130 miles in total. When we did our quick estimates, the official total for tonight's race, 124.274. So, including the pace lap, maybe we got up to about 130, but otherwise, no, it is very, very quick. It's an in and out race if all goes the way it has, and Charlotte did not end up being like that. We saw ourselves a thriller in the Ignite series at the very end. Braxton Deweese and Justin Morton going at it, and Deweese barely getting the race win there over Morton. It came down to a finish of 60-some thousandths of a second. The Octane series was a little bit calmer, but we did see a few cautions at the start. Ethan Lane ended up winning. Now, Christian-filled nature of a track like Charlotte in this league, just about the opposite of what we see here at North Wilkesboro. Usually one driver runs away from the start. There's never really a chance to catch that driver back, and we've seen that so far in Michael Araya. He's now gone 73 laps and has still not come down to pit road. Two-stop strategy is more than safe right now, and maybe up next could be the one-stopper if drivers keep on saving, although I'm doubtful they'll be able to go that far. Fuel cell has no limit here in the Integrity Octane Series, and unlike other leagues, these drivers can go all out if they choose to. It looks like right now, 80-plus laps might be the goal, as one driver's going to go spinning. That's Kyle Cooper, and caution is out. Yellow flag for Kyle Cooper, 75 laps in, and as such, we are going to be pacing for the first time tonight, and a little tap from Alan Rawell does all the trouble. They're under yellow. Well, let's take a look back at what happened here. Very small incident, and looks like no major damage, but the caution's out regardless. Take a look back. Rawell pokes number 73's back end and sends him into the corner, and no trouble. Nobody else makes contact. We will go back green in a few laps' time. Luckily, everyone stays straight, and could be good to return at about lap number 80. Leaders are going to come down to pit road now after 76 laps, so it looks like it will be the two-stop strategy after all. Laraya comes in, Fife and Brian McFerrin as well, looking at pit exit, and you're going to see who comes out first. Right now, Laraya with the obvious advantage of coming in first. And off a pit road, Lariah over Fife. Tom Wetmore then going to be third. And immediately thereafter, you're going to see Brian McFerrin fourth. Off a pit road, Bobby Ross choosing to take the race lead. And like he's now going to find himself shuffling in between some of your leaders. Ross is going to be scored now in fourth as your drivers with new tires get right by. 77 laps in, out of 200, live on FTN. We'd like to thank Tango Paints for their continued support on the network, and Tango Paints provides high-quality iRacing paint schemes. They work with brands you can trust, such as Makoni Setup Shop and Ancient World Gaming for drivers, such as Joey Stone, as featured on FTN, IDK Player, and many other online racing networks. Tango Paints delivers a paint never regret for a price you can't beat. Check out Tango Paints after tonight's broadcast as we'll return after our first promotional break of the day. You're watching the Wilkesboro Clash live on FTN, and the Integrity Octane Series will return to Green Flag Racing after this message. Now, one lap to green. Lapper's going to get back up in front of the field, and they'll be put to the back of the pack once again. Lap 80 out of 200, and your first yellow flag comes to pass. Minor contact between Alan Rawell and Kyle Cooper. Really nothing else comes of it. We'll go green this time by. Michael Lariah has been dominant today. Jacob Fife from the pole has fallen back to second for most of tonight's event. And we'll see what he can do here, maybe to recover the spot that he lost. One extra lap to sort us all out. And we'll return to the racing at lap 81. Now the iRacing official pace cars lights are off again. Lariah, who has been dominant, is hoping to keep that up into the second half. But nothing's a guarantee here, and now he's got Tom Wetmore and Jacob Fife, who are both on the same tire set as him, right there beside. It's not going to be easy, and now it's time to figure out what happens as Lariah gets the green flag for your first restart of the day. Green flags out once again, and Fife on the high side charges up. Side by side, still the top two. Michael Lariah going to go down and under, and it looks like he's not going to be able to hold on to the lead. Jacob Fife gets back to the points. And Fife can get that opportune timing. He was far, far away from Michael Lariah, several seconds behind, but all of a sudden, it looks like he's back in pole position form. And in such a form, Fife is going to put himself at the top of the board yet again. You're going to see right now, Michael Lariah remains just about a spot behind, and Tom Wetmore going to be third. The car lengths between them, about 5 in total. Tom Wetmore going to make up the final leg of this 3-car battle for the lead, and we'll see if he can even interject for the fight for second here. It looks like it's all Michael Lariah putting that pressure down yet again. Lariah still looking for an option up high or down low. Hasn't quite gotten there. Fife now going to play that defensive game, and it's so challenging as a driver on both sides of the spectrum to keep your position. Jacob Fife right now knows you can't really park it through the corners here in Wilkesboro, especially with the Gen 4. Any contact, as you saw with Kyle Cooper, could be detrimental, and the caution flies again for that exact reason. Bobby Ross, Eli Cars, Randy Fiash bring out the yellow. Let's take a look back and find out why. Ross up high, and Bobby, of all the drivers in this incident, was a lead lapper, so is Ross Cato. Eli Cars was a lap down to begin with, and Randy Fiash ends up catching a piece. Take a look at this. Cars just comes up the track. Bobby Ross was holding his line, and it looks like Eli ends up shooting back up. We're going to take a lap on board, or take a ride on board right now with Cars, who looks to have caused that incident, and we'll see what he was seeing. And maybe just didn't account for the fact that Bobby Ross was there. Multi-car incident as a result, and we have ourselves a second yellow flag on the circuit here. Jacob Fife, your leader, 88 laps in, and we are once again under pacing. Nicholas Ward can get some laps back after his connection troubles did him in. So he's 9 laps down, or 8 laps down as it stands, and should be able to return with the leaders by 2 cautions time maybe. I don't expect it to be this yellow flag, but Ward gained the opportunity to cycle back and get those laps to put himself in leading contention. Gonna take a while though, and as long as he's patient, maybe Nicholas Ward has a chance now to fight with the leaders again. He had top 10 pace, and maybe add himself the top 5 pace then. Add for the qualifying run. Does he have it in the long term? Remains to be seen. And that's a question that could be answered if Ward is given a shot or two, as he once again goes around the pack to make it 7 laps down. Ward returning to the front of the field slowly but surely. And he's about the only driver who's hoping to get these cautions now. Rest of the field going to get bunched up again. Double file. It's going to be Lariah down low and Jacob Fife up top. The 36 going to put himself right up high. And the 44 right to the bottom side as it was previously. Lariah hoping to regain that race lead. He was not falling back on Jacob Fife, but he let the lead slip, and that was the biggest of his problems. Now, as long as he keeps himself in the same range through 1 and 2 and doesn't back down through that second exit, should be fine to at least keep it side by side. But if Jacob Fife has that momentum off the corner, there's so little you can do, especially on the first lap. So Lariah gonna have to play it by ear here and see what's going on as we are set to return yet again to the green flag racing. Pace cars in, and it's Fife once again, this time with a jump start, and Michael Lariah could not even come close. If you're Michael Lariah, that restart was not for you. Jacob Fife once again has the race lead, and it looks like all of a sudden the 36 is jumping out as the top dog in this event. Cody Smith, Don Stevenson going to find himself side by side. The 18 machine looking right under the 47 up top. And Ross Cato, well, he's the 3rd man in this battle, but he's in 7th in position. And after getting involved in that incident just a little bit, he was very close to it as a matter of fact, he finds himself just outside the top 5 and looking to regain position. Bobby Ross also going to be in the top 10 here as it's side by side between the 47 and 18 once more. Ross goes down low. The 47 is up top. It is side by side yet again. And Nick Tarbuck now going to pull through off the corner to get to the back bumper on Tom Wetmore. Michael Lariah going to look right under. Jacob Fife is going to have himself running off the corner, still with the lead. And while the scramble continues, it still looks like Lariah has no room to get back into the top spot. Michael Lariah in a tricky predicament here, because the question becomes more so, what can you do if you're fading this far back as a driver? You gotta wonder. Fading far back for Lariah is simply being out of the race lead, mind you, and it looks like they are really gonna drop off the corner, and he lost about 1/10 of a second in that lap, and he's due to lose a little bit more. Jacob Fife now gonna build up some more of that distance. The gap progresses. And Lariah finds himself second spot, just about 3.5 tenths back through the corners. Once again, a loss for Lariah, one he does not want to duplicate. That all comes down if he can get that line off the corner to be matching Jacob Fife. Consistency is key, and right now Michael Lariah going to be working on what he has in store. It looks like right now Lariah is going to be just in the back bumper of Fife again, but there's no room if the bottom side gets controlled through turns 1 and 2. You end up shooting yourself up high and then covering a little bit too much distance, and when you cover too much distance, well, then you end up having to drop back down with hesitation. If you hesitate, you lose more speed, scrubbing it off, and it becomes a cycle of going all over again with multiple different mistakes. And that's exactly what Lariah is facing here. Coming down to the halfway point, it's going to be 100 laps in out of 200. Jacob Fife is still there in first. Lariah going to be in second. And as these drivers come across the stripe, the second half is on. A quick first half, which is ended by 2 cautions, now gives way to what's left. Half number 2, it's the final countdown from here. 100 laps to go, and your pole sitter Fife leads us back to the halfway points. Take a lap on board right now from the backside of Jacob Fife, and you'll look at what he's going through as he's got that backside rearview mirror all filled up. Fife's rearview mirror, take a look from it. Right now, Jacob Fife going to be fending off quite well. Really doesn't have to do all too much right now besides hit his marks. I'd say that's just about the only thing he'll have to keep his eye on. Nothing much else. It's not going to be about complex driving right now. You have the lead. You have the clean air. You've got the advantage. Now it's just all about keeping that advantage and progressing from there. Nick Tarbuck right now in that number 4 machine. He's in 4th place, and he got himself ahead of Cody Smith, who now rounds out the top 5. I think the question more so becomes, how long are you going to last as a driver here until the next pit stop? Now, we had ourselves 2 cautions, which means a few drivers might have gone down to pit road that second time, but overall, your leaders, with the exception of Kyle Cooper, chose not to. And right now, we're going to say the leader is someone who's on the lead lap, and Cooper's the only one of which went down to pit road in the most recent set of stops, so he might have the advantage over everyone else, and that's if we have to go down a pit road again. And those caution laps might have helped out just a bit, but I don't think they did all the work. As Don Stevenson ends up loose out of 2, now going to see that Under Armour Ford Taurus go high, and Kyle Cooper come down low. A little bit more pressure now for Don Stevenson as he looks down and under with 94 laps remaining, still trying to defend what he has. Side by side, Brian McFerrin trying to keep himself in it, and it looks like he's going to have to lay off regardless. McFerrin is going to be down to 8th, and Cooper now going to be there in 7th. Nice move for Kyle as he gets himself into the middle of this 3-car battle, finding himself sandwiched as we speak. Like he's just going to have to keep on driving and finding his way through. Having that ability to make it through with multiple grooves at North Wilkesboro is such a challenge, and very few drivers are able to achieve. Right now, Cooper knows one thing. If you get down to that bottom side successfully, there's a very fair opportunity at making the pass. However, getting down there to begin with is a challenge which very few drivers are able to achieve. Getting the successful pass is that much more difficult. Even getting side by side is not easy in the slightest, but have to add to that actually making the pass. It's a lot more effort than what it might seem to be on the circuit right now. And as the start-finish line is all fully empty, it goes through the back straight, and Kyle Cooper does still chasing Don Stevenson. With 90 laps to go this time by, we're going to take a look throughout your entire top 10. Jacob Fife will lead from Michael Lariah in 2nd, and Tom Wetmore currently rounds out the podium. Then it's going to be 4th, and Nick Tarbuck and Cody Smith in 5th. Don Stevenson is 6th, and Kyle Cooper is then in 7th, with Brian McFerrin in 8th. 9th place is Ross Cato, and to round out the top 10, you got Bobby Ross in the 45, and smack in the middle, there's Cody Smith, the number 18, part of Next Level Racing's team. We'd like to thank once again Next Level Racing providing all of the support in bringing these broadcasts to you throughout the season. Next Level Racing since 2009 has been the leader in sim racing hardware, providing equipment for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information after tonight's broadcast, and we'll return after a brief promotional break from our friends at Next Level Racing. Michael Araya, Jacob Fife side by side with 84 laps to go, and Tom Wetmore also getting in the mix. Now, as you're watching the tail end of this battle, it's going to come down to Araya and Fife, the 36 and the 44. But if they end up distracting each other too much, we might as well see Tom Wetmore get inside the fight. It could be three drivers going for one position. Right now, it looks like Michael Araya is still holding his own, and he's got full control. Jacob Fife going to be there in second, and Tom Wetmore is third. Right now, that's the way they've run, and for the entirety of this stint, about 42 laps have been put in on this pit cycle so far for your leaders anyway, and they've decided to go through for about a third of what we've seen in this race on this new set of tire. The hope is to get there all the way from here, although I don't think that's all too likely. It's not going to be easy to go 100+ laps on one run. However, if these drivers are patient, there is a possibility of just that occurring. We mentioned previously, only one driver right now has the possibility of going all the way safely, and that's going to be Kyle Cooper. Cooper right now finds himself in sixth, and he's on a 32-lap run. And we say safely, but take that with a grain of salt. He has already run 32 laps, and with 80 to go, he'd have to go 113, which is better than over 120. It is better, but it is not enough to guarantee going all the way on one pit stop. Cooper's just going to have to keep hauling through the field. He's made up a spot or two. He's up to 6th already, and relative to his qualifying position, Cooper is up 6 positions and is the biggest mover in this race. Don Stevenson was the biggest mover. He was 13th to 6th, but fell down. He's now 13th to 8th. It's now Cooper who's got the position as the biggest mover of the day and might be able to lock down that hard charger award if he gets another spot here and moves up inside the top 5. That is, of course, if he remains in that top 5 by the time we get to the end of this race, which is by no means a guarantee. It might happen. It also might not. Just, of course, depends on whether or not Kyle Cooper can remain in this spot and keep himself consistent lap after lap as they wind down. 73 is going to look to the bottom side of Cody Smith, and it looks like Cody is going to move accordingly, and that'll bring them side by side down the back straight. Cooper is now going to have himself a little bit more room to make a pass, and yeah, Cody Smith, uncomfortable, is going to have to drop back. There goes Kyle, and just like that, Cooper is up in a 5th. Cody Smith, position number 6, drops a spot back, and the 73 has himself room. Now that Kyle Cooper's made that spot for 5th, the closest battle remains the race lead, and so far not a lot of progress have come of it as Cooper's going to make a mistake, and that lets Cody Smith go once again right down under. Now it's going to be side by side in favor of Cody Smith, and all he had to do was wait there you have it. Cody Smith moves up into 5th again, Brian McFerrin is 6th, and Kyle Cooper has fallen back into 7th, and now in jeopardy of losing a spot to Don Stevenson. There goes Stevenson to the bottom side, and Kyle Cooper is now going to find himself in the wall, and just one mistake is going to send Cooper back 3 positions. Bad news for Kyle. Could be recovered, but it's not going to be easy from this point onward. Jacob Fife going to find himself now 3.5 tenths away from your leader, and a little bit further as they stretch it. Now, we've got a little bit of time here as the racing gets down to the tail end of this one, and FTN, the schedule here for June is going to look a little bit different, especially when it comes down to the latter portion of the week. Now, we have ourselves some changes in terms of schedule. Friday nights are going to become a little bit busier here on FTN. The Prodigy Racing Association is bringing their Legacy Truck Series to FTN starting this week. Now, this week is not going to be the opening of their season. However, it's going to be a registration and recruitment race. So if you want to join the race as a driver, you can. It will be an open session under the Prodigy Racing Association, or PRA. And then we begin the season next week at Daytona. So you got a little bit of time if you want to prepare to get yourself into the racing, or if you want to find out what it's like as a viewer. It's going to be using the 2008 Chevrolet Silverado as the only car of choice, and it's going to be a very, very interesting schedule. We've got the conventional tracks like Daytona, Richmond, Iowa. Then you have some tracks you might not often see like Concord Motor Speedway, and maybe a few other legacy tracks sprinkled in between. Prodigy Racing is going to be coming to FTN for a full season starting in June, and that's going to be all Friday nights from here until the end of the summer. Now, in addition, we also have a change on Saturdays. The Velocity Online Racing League, we mentioned it previously, they're going to be moving over to Raceverse tentatively. However, that is subject to change. You might see some more VOR action coming to FTN on a part-time basis alongside the VOR network, which is owned and operated by the league itself and Julian Altena. Side-by-side battle right now with Kyle Cooper making up those spots he got by Don Stevenson, and now he's looking for Cody Smith. Now, speaking of Race First, you might remember that FTN's helped out with getting the overlays ready and the commentary for their Indianapolis 500 with Gary Gotso and Mark Murphy. Both of them will be coming over on Tuesday nights and bringing Isra with them. And starting later this June, you're going to see Isra, another stock car racing league, make its debut on these Tuesday nights on FTN. Check them out, as they're going to be another series of making their way in. Xfinity series with some stock car drivers you might not know of, some new faces, and they're going to be bringing some of the talent all throughout the iRacing community to FTN, expanding the network. And we're, of course, glad to have Gary Godso and Mark Murphy coming over and helping out the FTN crew and expanding even further as we hit the halfway point of 2024. Now, that's all that's changing. We have a few other similarities in mind. Of course, the Integrity Racing League, and right now the Highline Racing League is on its summer break. It'll be back by about August, and then going to run until about November yet again. And you're going to see the Iora Cup Series go on its summer vacation and come back for Season 6. And in addition, the Integrity Racing League, they don't have that summer vacation as long any longer. We're going to have ourselves racing until November in this league all the same. Saturday Night Thunder is going to be on its break, and that continues for about a month more. And then we get back to full-on racing on Saturday nights with the stock cars. Those Xfinity cars never disappoint, so keep your eyes peeled for those. And the Schumacher Racing League on Sundays will remain all the same. SRL coming back for its second season in FTN has been exciting. They raced last night, or rather 2 nights ago, at the Kansas Speedway. James Thurston, the man who got the win. Of course, Thurston, a driver we see all throughout the FTN week. He's a championship contender who's been coming through with very, very solid results in the Iora Cup Series, fighting alongside the best in that field as Jacob Fife comes down and in. So Fife going to make it down to pit road, and he's looking to split this stint up at about 62 exactly. Comes Jacob making it down to pit road. That's a pretty safe call for Jacob Fife, and it's a safe call, which is not a bad thing in the slightest here, but Fife deciding to split it right down the middle and not choosing to stretch it any longer. The question still remains as to whether or not anyone can go all the way. Don't know whether or not that's going to be possible. Nobody's really showing signs of going down and in so far to try to match that split stint strategy. Maybe the goal is just going to be trying to go for a longer first run to put in that second pit stop and make it a shorter second pit stop all the same. Now, if this second pit stop ends up being just a little bit shorter, it could be an advantage for a driver like Michael Araya, Nick Tarbuck, and Tom Wetmore, who are still out on the track. And notably here, for a driver who might have the advantage in that strategy, Kyle Cooper, he might be able to get the shortest strategy of them all. On that second stop, he'll have less fuel to put in because he's running even longer than anyone else. 55 laps so far for Kyle Cooper, and he has 58 laps to go. So if he is following Jacob Fife's strategy, he'd come in at about 5 or 6 laps to come in for about lap number 60, 61. If he's going to follow Cody Smith, he'd come in at about 10 laps because Cody Smith just came in right now. Smith down to pit road after 66 on that stint himself. It's becoming increasingly clear that nobody's going to be able to make it on one pit stop here. So as drivers come down to pit road more and more, keep your eyes peeled as to who's next. Leaders, for the most part, have still chosen not to do so. And now everyone being spread out leads to only one battle. Nick Ward going to come down and in after 69 laps. Nice entry for him, although a little bit risky with Michael Araya. Let's take a look on board right now with Don Stevenson as he's coming up on Kyle Cooper. And right now, looks like the Hornet's Nest is slowly but surely coming into its own. Don Stevenson right behind Kyle Cooper. These two have been working each other over for the better half of 50 laps here. And here comes Don, down and under. He's got Kyle Cooper right up top. Neck and neck, they're going to come across the stripe yet again. And it looks like now Don Stevenson should be able to cut down to the bottom side and take the spot. And that he does. Here comes Don Stevenson. And he makes a pass for 5th. That time by. 53 laps remaining and now only 52 to go. Michael Araya and the company behind him have decided to stay out on the track 72 laps into this stint. And now Jacob Fife has faded back because Fife went down to pit road 8 laps ago from a second spot on the order. Now the pylon has changed a little bit, but overall very familiar faces. Michael Araya will still lead from Nick Tarbuck in second and Tom Wetmore in third. Brian McFerrin has had the race of his season so far, qualifying in 4th, the best qualifying run he's gotten, and additionally he's kept himself fighting in the outer confines of the top 5. And maybe if all were to go well, he could still get up there for a podium if, of course, the chips fall in the right places. He'd have to go all in though from here on out, as he's fallen a little bit further back than drivers like Tom Wetmore or Nick Tarbuck. He's several seconds behind Tom Wetmore, still ahead of Don Stevenson and Kyle Cooper alike. So maybe if Brian McFerrin holds on here, he's got a chance of going for his first podium in his Octane Series career. Same could go for Don Stevenson in getting a podium this season, which would not be his first, but he's had himself success, but it's not been the best success at these short tracks. Of course, Bristol Motor Speedway, perhaps the most exciting finish of the year, came down to he and Ethan Lane at Bristol in the final half mile. Don Stevenson entered the leader. He came out finishing second. Ethan Lane passed him through 1 and 2 on the final lap. And those last lap passes, they hurt for a driver. Of course, second place is not a bad finish at all, but for Don Stevenson, that could have been punching his ticket to a huge points boost. And right now for Stevenson, although he finds himself still a top 10 contender in this series, What a win would do for just about anyone in this field. It would be a huge boost, not only in terms of points, but in terms of confidence. Of course, Ethan Lane with the most wins this season. He's got 6 already. Michael Araya, he's got himself a hefty total as well. Let's go down the wins column and see who's got the most out of anyone here, and you will see who is in control of this field week in, week out. It has been Michael Araya and Ethan Lane dominant. I mean, Lane has 6 wins, Michael Araya has 4, then Nick Tarbuck has 2, and Blake Cannon has 1. Nobody else has a win this season. Nobody else has a win. 4 drivers have won, 3 of which have multiple wins, and Blake Cannon has come out of nowhere to get his first as a rookie. Nobody else has had a chance at victory lane just yet. And this will be Michael Araya's 5th, mind you. He'd be able to keep up in the fight for the all-time single-season win record. Now, Araya does not have any coming into the season, so he's not fighting for the all-time career wins record. He would be up to 5, which would put him in the top 3 of the career wins title. He'd be tied with Tom Wetmore after this one. And right now, Araya just looking for win number 5. He'd have 44 laps to go from here to get to that point. It's increasingly unlikely these drivers are going to be able to make it to the end of this race, but it's also increasingly unlikely we see them come in. 82 laps in now for Michael Araya, and we have not yet seen him pull down a pit road or make any signs of movement. Down and in, he has kept himself on the track, and he looks to be confident in what he's got. 44, going to work off the stripe yet again, and that's going to be now 41 laps remaining. Take a look throughout the entire top 10 one more time. Araya going to be first, Nick Tarbuck going to be second, and Tom Wetmore is in third. Wetmore looking to go for the double top 5 finishes, and he'll be the only driver eligible to do just that, with the exception of Nick Tarbuck, who's just ahead of him. Don Stevenson going to be 4th, and Brian McFerrin is 5th, with Kyle Cooper 6th, Ross Cato in 7th, and Jacob Fife then in 8th. It's going to be then Cody Smith and Bobby Ross who round out the top 10. And for the second time tonight, we'd like to give our special thanks to Next Level Racing for providing all the integrity action to you, the viewer, live on FTN. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information about iRacing and sim racing as a whole's leading equipment partner. Next Level Racing is proud to present the 2nd annual Integrity Racing League Championship prize, the biggest prize this league has ever seen, a sim rig courtesy of Next Level Racing worth $2,000 US. Thomas Bresci won it last season, and so did Seth Noel, both drivers getting a full-on sim rig as a result of their successes in the Integrity Racing League, in the Ignite Series and Octane Series respectively, and the best drivers of this year's running, well, they'll get another sim rig as well, so keep your eyes peeled all season long to find out who wins the grand prize with $2,000 in value. We'll be right back after a special message from our friends at Next Level Racing. laps to go. Michael Araya has put on a clinic tonight. He and Jacob Fife, the only drivers to have led laps so far, and Araya en route to what could be his 5th win of the season. Welcome back live on FTN. 169 laps in, you're watching coverage of the Wilkesboro Clash here in the Octane Series. Race 14 on the schedule. If you're tuning in for the first time tonight, I'm your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentator and producer. And yes, so far, Michael Araya has been the man from flag to flag. 2 cautions so far, and everyone else has run with little trouble. But overall, it really has been the number 44, a no-doubt contender for the championship. He's the points leader, and the rookie prevails yet again. I mean, for Michael Araya, I'm not quite sure if the expectation maybe was a championship coming in. But since Daytona, he has been fast, and he has been one of the most consistent drivers, bar none. Let's talk about top 5s. He has the most in 9 top 5s so far out of 13 starts. Michael Araya is almost never out of the race-winning conversation. Ethan Lane has the second most with 7, and Nick Tarbuck has 7 coming into this race. He could move up to 8 with this finish. Strong as it is so far, he will be able to come through with not only a top 5, but a podium, just about a second behind your points leader. And Michael Araya has 12 top 10s out of 13 attempts. He's only missed 1 top 10 in this entire season. He has been unstoppable so far. Michael Araya has been the perfect example for how it is as a driver to win a championship with consistency and race-winning pace. Now, Ethan Lane has the second most in... Oh, he doesn't have the second most any longer. It's a very close battle. We say he has the second most, but the reason being we have a multi-way tie here, including drivers such as Ross Cato, Nick Tarbuck, Jacob Fife, Tom Wetmore, Matthew Thunderst, and then Ethan Lane. Tricky to say it's a second place for Lane because it really isn't, and it is a multi-way tie after, but everyone is chasing Michael Araya, the man who's held everyone off, and he has kept every single top 10 except 1 this entire first half of the season. At the rate he's running, he'd have about 27 top 10s. Just like that. To end the season, 27 top 10s out of 30 races would be just about improbable. His average finish would be a single-digit number, and so far definitely is one of those. And we'd have to calculate the numbers overall to find out his overall average finish so far this season. It must be a very impressive number given how well he's run so far. Nobody else seems to have that same consistency, and he has been all throughout this series. Every track, no matter the type, still as good as ever. See what he's got in store as the caution's going to fly. Multi-car incident. Tom Wetmore, Brian McFerrin, and Cody Smith. Caution is out with 24 laps to go, and this changes everything. Take a look back as the caution flies for McFerrin, Wetmore, and Cody Smith. Contact going to give way to a chain reaction. Wetmore gets hit multiple times, and Cody Smith does too. McFerrin slides down the track, and that's all she wrote. Those 3 drivers should be able to continue, but it's not going to be easy. As the yellow flag flies yet again, Michael Araya going to lead the field down to pit road. "22 laps remain this time by, and keep in mind, so far, Michael Araya's average finish this season has been a 5.3. Now, if he wins tonight, he's going to be able to push that within the 4s, so maybe he's going to get himself out of pit road first. That he does. It's going to be Araya, Tarbuck, Jacob Fife. Then it looks to be Don Stevenson and Kyle Cooper to round out the top 6. And we say the top 6 right now because it looks like Don Stevenson makes that 5th spot, and Ross Cato, he's going to be in 4th. Cato went down to pit road previously, and he's going to let himself hold out. Despite the fact that we have a caution, it looks like Ross is going to stay on the circuit. When we go back green to finish this race off with what's going to be less than a 20-lap shootout, we're going to, of course, Bringing you the best camera angles from iRacing. Once again, the Wilkesboro Clash presented to you with the best cameras in iRacing, TrackCams22.com, and Track Cams for Gourmets. Undeniable the quality of this platform TrackCams22 has developed, with over 100 cars and tracks to choose from for top-notch quality cameras. On iRacing, there's no better place to go. They're providing the wonderful onboard cameras you see for tonight's race, and we're going to be able to crank it up here in just a few moments' time with iRacing's leading camera provider. The best broadcasters choose the best cameras, and that's the reason TrackCams22 is so popular. Visit Facebook.com/TrackCams or TrackCams22.com after tonight's event, and we're going to return with less than 20 laps remaining and crank it up as soon as the green flag drops yet again. Tom Wetmore, Cody Smith, Brian McFerrin involved in that most recent caution. They're all still on the lead lap, and they're all still in the top 10. Going to go back green with 18 laps to go here. It's Michael Araya, Nick Tarbuck, Don Stevenson, Jacob Fife, your fast four as we're set to do it all over again. Now going to be time for Michael Araya to get things going up top, the control car in a lap's time, and once again a slight extension here as the field is still pacing. It looks like right now we have ourselves 9 drivers on the lead lap going back to Ross Cato, and Cato ends up going down a pit road and he will put himself at the tail end of the field. Ross almost played that strategy just right, but it looks like 13 laps of wear is too much to hold out for. And we've seen the troubles a few times before with old tires and fighting for the lead. We don't want to see that yet again. So a 17-lap shootout to decide this race. And it's going to be Michael Araya and Nick Tarbuck who bring us through. Let's crank it up with the best cameras on the iRacing platform. It's going to be now 17 laps to go as we crank it up, courtesy of TrackCams22.com. Araya slides. Here comes Nick Tarbuck. One mistake from Michael Araya, and take a look at who's leading. Nick Tarbuck looking for his 3rd win this season. And the number 4 is out in front with 11 laps to go. Araya got loose on the restart, and that's a mistake you just cannot make with this little time on the table. And Araya led over 135 laps today, and it might be all in vain if the number 4 can come home in victory lane here and finish off the job. He's now got the advantage, he is in control, and so long as he makes it through these final sets of corners, lap after lap, without any damage, I think now it is Nick Tarbuck with the likeliest chance of coming home in victory lane. Now, nothing is a guarantee, of course, but the way that these two behind him are driving, in Lariah and Fife, I don't think they're gaining. Right now, there's little you can do to gain, and it looks like whatever they're doing will not get them there. Tom Wetmore now all eyes on getting back up to third. Wetmore with damage is still driving hard here, and you can see Tom getting himself back up to the bottom side of the circuit. Got Jacob Fife right behind him, the pro pounder on Peyton number 36. Now, Tom Wetmore finds himself just behind Jacob Fife. The gap to him is about 0.4 of a second, and with the damage, it's a surprise Wetmore is still in the mix. And I mean, you can see that backside is crumpled up. And it looks like it's not taking too much from the aerodynamics, which matter the least of anything on the track. Wetmore still has a chance, and he's going to have to keep on fighting if he wants to keep himself in that battle. Kyle Cooper goes down to the inside line, and it's going to be Cody Smith up top. Cody's got damage, and you can see it on the right side, and he is going to have to let Kyle dive a little bit further down. Just can't get there yet. Going to be 5 laps to go this time by, and we have mentioned the dominant forces of this season, and only 4 drivers have gotten wins so far, and before Blake Cannon, it was only 3. Nick Tarbuck was the first man to win, so he knows that he was the originator of that entire pattern of drivers who have been oh so dominant, and now he's coming up on the lapper of Randy Fiash, going to be able to quickly go down to the bottom side and get away from Fiash there. The 55 goes up top and let everyone else be. Tarbuck looking for win number 3 on the campaign. It's been a long time coming. He started this season red hot, and he simmered down, but ever since that point, he's still been one of the more consistent drivers on this circuit, with now a total of 8+ top 10s. He could be able to make it number 9 tonight. Tarbuck is in firm standing to go all the way, and now he's got himself less than 1.5 miles to do it. Popsicle sticks. This time by Randy Fiash, going to be put 1 lap down by Tarbuck. Looks like now Nick Tarbuck has clean track right ahead of him to finish off the job. Jacob Fife going to try to get back up there to the Lariah. Try to make it happen. Getting down to the white flag. The race is official. All Fife can do now is lunge and try to make something happen. He's been one of the better drivers at these short tracks all season long, but the number 4 has been waiting since the big track swing at Daytona and more to come back to victory lane. Tonight in Wilkes County, Tarbuck gets his chance. Checkered flag flies, and Nick Tarbuck wins at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. His 3rd win of the season and his 1st since the 2nd race of the campaign all the way back in February. It's been months of waiting, but Nick Tarbuck is back on top. Tarbuck gonna come down a pit road and burn it down some more. And it looks like that finishes off the celebration. Checkered flag will fall for Nick Tarbuck, who wins by 1 second over Michael Lariah. Then gonna be Jacob Fife, who rounds out the top 3. Lariah overall was the dominant driver today, but only 1 lap that matters when it comes to winning. It is the last lap, and Lariah, with that mistake, with less than 15 laps to go, That made all the difference. One slip up destroys what was overall a very dominant event for the 44 crew. Tom Wetmore going to come home in fourth, his second straight fourth place finish, and Don Stevenson rounds out the top five with Kyle Cooper sixth, Cody Smith seventh, and Brian McFerrin then in eighth. Ross Cato is ninth, and Bobby Ross rounds out the top 10. Then from there, 11th is John Gearvon, 12th is Alan Rawell, 13th is Randy Fiash, and 14th place is Nicholas Ward. Eli Cars and Todd Thomas are 15th and 16th, and they will round out the field tonight. Harbuck is the driver who gets it done, and of course, maybe not the most expected win of the season, but coming out at the final 10-lap marker and making it happen from there. Nick knew exactly what needed to be done, and he executed. And as such, the number 4 is back in victory lane. Let's get a word from your race winner tonight, the driver, the number 4. It's been a long time coming, but it's win number 3 on the tour for your entire team, Nick. What a way to come back and get it done here in North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, man, that was I hate to be in Michael's spot in those where you're leading and then the caution comes out and something happens, but I love it when it's me in the spot that takes advantage of it. So, yeah, it was definitely not the position I expected to be in. I mean, I came into this concerned with my pace, especially in practice and qualifying. But I mean, learned throughout the race, learned how to take care of the tires, which is always the key, and ended up in the right place at the right time, and did not choke, thankfully.
And 6th to first on the day. You made some gains there from qualifying, as you mentioned. And most importantly was that final stretch. But there was so much that led up to it. We only had 2 cautions until the last 15-lap marker. We got the one that changed everything. And you had a lot of time to learn how to get to grips with this track. The conditions were not at all in the driver's favor today. A high of about 130 degrees in terms of track temperature. Tires were scorching, but it looks like most drivers were able to handle it. Was there anything you learned along the way that got you to that point?
Yeah, you definitely could not attack the exits at all. You had to be really patient. You weren't even full throttle. I mean, maybe that last run I was full throttle a couple of times, but you would smoke the tires, and that was the key, is not smoking the tires. You needed as much drive off as you could keep. So just learning how to save the tires the first run, which I did not do successfully, but I knew what I had to do for the second long run. And luckily that all worked out, and I was able to work my way up to second place. And I think I was catching Lariah even during that long run, so I wasn't sure how that would have played out if I'd caught him, just if that went green. But at the end of the race there, that last stint, I mean, it was 15 laps, I think. That was just all out as fast as I could attack. I had low fuel, fresh tires. It was just all out, go as fast as I could. So definitely a little bit of an unknown because I didn't do that the whole rest of the race, but it luckily worked out.
And everything going to work out at the very end there, making that very quick slide through, and perhaps the only opportunity to take the lead. You made the most of it, and as such, you're back in victory lane. It's been a while, as we said, since we've seen you here, and we're coming to a stretch of tracks which are maybe more than familiar than anything to most of these drivers. We have Gateway, then Sonoma, then Iowa, which is a stretch of races, and maybe not the most familiar for any driver, let alone with a Gen 4 stock car here. So Gateway's up next, and we saw an exciting race in the NASCAR Cup Series there. Maybe a chance to take advantage once more.
I think so, man. I really like Gateway. It's a fun track. It's got a lot of, again, I think the throttle control is going to be huge, especially in turns 3 and 4, really flat, New Hampshire-ish style turns. So, yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be a fun race. Hopefully we get a bit more of of people showing up, so there's more lap traffic and stuff involved, and just more people fighting for the win. But I do think the Gateway will be a good one. Sonoma, I don't know, man. I think we talked about road courses yesterday. I just show up and do what I can. And Iowa, man, that's a tough one. I've never been good there. So hopefully I can capitalize Gateway, get some points back that I missed out on by missing a race or two, and just keep this momentum going.
Momentum now coming into the second half of this season. Nick Tarbuck getting the victory here in North Wilkesboro. If there's anyone else you'd like to shout out, well, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man, I want to thank you for doing the broadcast, as always. Thanks to the admins for putting on a good race. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thank Mom, Dad, brother, a couple friends tuned in. Yeah, hopefully I can get some more wins for everybody who keeps tuning in. Appreciate y'all.
Nick Tarbuck getting your third victory here in the Octane Series 2024, a thriller coming down to the very final laps in North Wilkesboro. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Nick gonna now be on the way, and Michael Araya on the other side of this coin is coming right through. We thought there was a chance for him to come through. What could have been win number 5 on the season? That will have to wait for another week. Michael, I gotta say, it can't be the happiest perhaps after what happened there, but points gained on your championship rivals and a podium finish to come with it. What was it like out there in North Wilkesboro? Certainly a race you're not gonna forget.
Yeah, it was probably one of the loosest setups I've ever driven on iRacing. It was absolutely insane. Um, you could barely touch the throttle, and the thing was going to get loose on you. We were actually not even running a iRacing fixed setup. We were running a custom set because the fixed set was undrivable that iRacing provided. So it could have been even worse, but it was just all about throttle management tonight, and um, certainly a very challenging race overall.
And the challenges were clear from the very beginning. I mean, we mentioned it when we were talking about the race as it progressed. Triple-digit track temperatures all race long, and even though there weren't as many drivers, so it was a little more racing room, North Wilkesboro is never easy, and these Gen 4 stock cars are those that fall victim to, if you get a little bit of contact or you get loose, it's very hard to save it no matter what. You seem to not have a lot of trouble in that regard, though, and had some of the best long race pace all night long.
Yeah, that was my strength by far tonight. Short runs, I felt like Jacob, he could match me, if not be better than me for the initial 15 laps, 20 laps of a run. And then once we got some heat into the tires, a little bit of wear, then that's when I really started taking off. And um, man, that I just I'm so bummed because felt like I had that race in the bag there towards the end, and like I wasn't even that worried when the caution came out, to be honest, because just being the control car, you have such an advantage on the restarts, and I got a nice jump, but just kind of overdid it getting into fourth gear, and just had too much throttle going into one, and oh my god, the thing just came around on me there, and um I'm really bummed that I didn't close out the deal tonight, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy I was able to save the car and not wipe out the whole field. That could have been an absolute disaster. If I didn't have that little bit of gap, it was going to be really bad. So um, yeah, disappointed for sure, but still, I guess another good points night. But man, it just stinks throwing away races like that. These wins are not easy to come by, even though I'm having a good season. I mean, we got some guys in this league that will surprise you, and if you make slip ups like I did tonight, then they'll capitalize. So just gotta do better.
And we've seen how tough the competition has been all season long. A major opportunity for you in the fight against guys like Ethan Lane today, getting that perhaps free race, so to speak, on the schedule. But it's not going to be easy from here. And up next, it's going to be Gateway for 20 laps. Worldwide Technology Raceway. We saw it last season, but very early, and it's a completely different package here with the Gen 4s. A lot of these next coming races are big question marks, and even though Gateway's an oval, I think it's one of them.
Yeah, I really don't know what to expect, to be honest. It's going to be so setup dependent. I could envision it where we could be extremely tight. Um, just no turn in on entry. The car wants to slide up the track in the middle of the corner, and it's just going to be really trying to manage the right front the whole time. Or we could have another extremely loose setup, and it's going to be just all about how you're applying the throttle on corner exit. Can be real challenging. So I feel like it's going to be one extreme or the other. I'll be shocked if we have a neutral setup, but I expect to see a shifting there for sure. Definitely at least through turn 1 and 2. So that's always an interesting thing, just making sure that you're on your game with making shifts and whatnot. But I feel like that race, it's probably gonna get a little bit spread out. I'm sure it's gonna go green. Um, so it's gonna be a lot about your consistency, especially on the long run. So I feel like that race is gonna probably suit me well, especially if it does go green. But yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
And we're due to find out what's next here as we're moving on to the second half. Michael Araya, despite what happened at the very end there, a very strong performance. And if you have anyone else to shout out, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Sim Speed Shop for being on board the car this season. And I'll give a shout out to Jacob Fife tonight, as well as Nick. Uh, both those guys ran a really good race. It was fun battling Jacob there. We were battling real hard tonight, and we kept it clean. So always fun when you can race guys that hard and keep it clean, and it overall just makes for a really good time. So give a shout out to those guys, and of course David yourself for putting on the broadcast.
Michael Araya, once again, a very strong performance. And matter of fact, we were looking at the top 10 numbers, and you've only missed one top 10 this season. This will be the 13th on your campaign so far, and consistency yet again. Thank you for your time stopping by here after a second place finish in Wilkes County.
All right, thank you.
Michael Araya on the move tonight. Hey, Jacob Fife is showing again. He's one of the silently really solid guys at these short tracks. I think we're going to see more from Jacob Fife as the year progresses with the rest of these short tracks coming up. Podium finish and a top 3 run here in Wilkes County from the pole. Jacob, you had a lot of speed today, and it showed all throughout.
Yeah, that was a really challenging race, but it was fun. I enjoyed getting out there and mixing it up. Really would have liked to seen how that strategy would have played out with pitting with 60 to go, I believe it was, splitting that last caution on. Just didn't work out, but still came back with the third. Laria's last restart there, I guess the one before our last, whichever one it was, him getting loose there, really could have mixed things up. If I was real aggressive, I might have been able to get under him and kind of maybe if I got past him, I could have had a shot at Nick there. But great racing there all throughout. That was a really challenging set. And car, track combo, everything. And everybody did a great job of keeping it clean for the most part.
A very clean race for the short tracks, all things considered. Only 3 cautions and minor incidents overall. So we had a lot of time to let this race develop with green flag runs. You and Michael Araya were trading the lead for the most of it. And we saw you guys run away for the most part as well. So how was it like fighting up there in front and figuring things out as the race progressed?
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun. Lariah is just so good on the long run, man. He has the ability to save tires really well, no matter what track we go to. So it's really any type of green flag run that we get is really hard to hold him off. And I ended up over abusing my tires trying to do that, which is really one of the main reasons why I chose to split that last run in half and try to shortcut him and see if I can get back up to him, which it'd have been really close. I'd have been interested to see that. But yeah, he's just super talented. So being able to run with him and kind of try to hang tight with him as best as we could there was really good racing. And he's always fun to race with anyway. He's super clean.
Clean battle coming to a close with very little trouble for both of you guys. Now, we got to say that last restart pretty dicey there with Michael. You think you had a chance maybe to slide through and get a little bit more out of it?
Well, I mean that's kind of what we were shooting for. I thought if I could clear him and stay clear, that I could at least put some pressure on Nick to make a mistake or something like that potentially. But I did, kind of going back to what I just said. Lariah race is so clean. You don't want to really rough him up with so much, and he's it's just really hard to pass and keep control of the car, and you know and battle hard with that particular set because you're so on edge the whole lap. And I'm sure you guys saw there kind of dooring each other and kind of pushing each other up the track and what have you. Um, really is, we're battling hard, but we're not gaining anything on Nick, and he's just kind of pulling away. And I don't say the easy time of it with the win, but it kind of made the gap for him to where he could manage his stuff and get the win there tonight. So congratulations to him on that. But definitely some fun racing and hard battling at the end there for the last 2 laps.
And some great battling to set the tone for our final stretch until summer break. It's going to be Gateway coming up next. And with the Gen 4 stock cars, another big question mark as regards to how that race is going to play out. We saw it previously, I believe in last year's schedule, and we know it's a very exciting track for what it's got in store. Maybe a chance for another solid performance and maybe a fight for the first win of your season.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, when we did the next gen last year, Gateway, it was a unique challenge. I think with the additional horsepower here, getting off of turn 1 and 2 there, Gateway is going to be challenging as well. I'm really interested to see if you're going to have to shift there with these cars or not, since they generally carry a decent amount of RPM with them. So there'll probably be some strategies or differing of lines and things like that that'll kind of change things up for Gateway. So that'll be a fun challenge for sure. Much like tonight, really, just a little bigger of a track, a little quicker, but definitely a challenge nonetheless.
We're hoping to see another exciting race come for the challenge of Gateway. Tonight, though, third place here in North Wilkesboro, Jacob. If a final shout-outs or any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you to FTN and you Dave, for doing the broadcast for us. We really appreciate all the work you put into it. Thank you to the admin team for helping me out with running the league and keeping things chugging along. And especially tonight, off and off week. Challenging track car combo. Really want to give a shout out to all the guys who showed up tonight and gave some really good clean racing when it could have been a caution fest pretty easily. So thank you everybody for coming out and looking forward to hitting the home stretch of the regular season. Really, we're kind of on the back half of the regular season, and we'll be getting into playoff scenarios and stuff like that pretty soon. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out.
Jacob Fife, third place on the day here in the Wilkesboro Clash. We thank you for your time.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Jacob Fife on the move. We got ourselves another week in the books here for the Integrity Racing League. Now, keep in mind, this stretch is going to be one that we have a lot of question marks in mind for, but they're good question marks because there's a lot of opportunities for these drivers from top to bottom to make some changes. I mean, tonight, we didn't quite expect Nick Tarbuck to come out with the win, and yet he did. It just comes down to waiting for the right opportunity and presenting yourself when it's there. And tonight, Nick Tarbuck did just that, winning with Michael Araya in second and Jacob Fife in third. Thank you all for watching exclusive coverage from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway live on FTN. We hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage of the Integrity Octane Series and come back for next week's racing 120 laps from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. I've been your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, and if you enjoyed this presentation, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching tonight's racing, and we hope to see you on our next broadcast Thursday night with the Iora Cup Series as they continue their chase for the championship. Thank you once more for tuning in on FTN. We hope you have a fantastic night.